swap the names around on the overlay once again. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is the CYBBET Race Wars. I'm Rifkin, joined by Fear Dragon. Thank you for joining me today, by the way, Fear Dragon. Covering for Zombie Grub's absence.
What are you talking about? I am a zombie grub.
Can you not tell by my beautiful voice? And
look, I know that Overwatch got me on the brown girl train, but don't do this to me. There's too much confusion going to go on. All right, game number 2 underway, and it is 1-0 for his opponent. Spawning the bottom left side of the map, it's going to be Rocket's HyuN on his last life.
And his opponent spawning up in the top left-hand corner with a red Protoss player. Give it up for the Boss Toss MC.
Now, HyuN may be metagaming super hardcore, right? Hear me out, guys. Rift conspiracy time, right? HyuN might be like, well, this is a Race Wars tournament. Maybe Blizzard will watch this and base future balance points on it. So if I lose a lot, it'll look like Zerg's not doing so good. So he loses the first series to Alive. He's losing his next series to MC right now. But this all may be with the greater plan of keeping Zerg from getting nerfed and keeping Protoss and Terran weak. So when the big tournaments come into play, the GSLs start getting played out, HyuN's able to pounce. The long con, if you will.
Metagaming to the max. That's some dangerous logic right there.
I, of course, don't believe anything that I'm saying presently, but he is not having a good day. Like, HyuN, honestly, like, versus Alive, I was not expecting that to go so one-sided. That game was obviously, it looked very close, like HyuN's game, but we'll see if he can bring it back on Orenda. This is a pretty nice map for getting aggressive. This is a really nice map for Roach Ravager because of the rush distances as well. So, depending on how HyuN decides to play, he could actually tie this up and bring us to the ace match.
Yeah, well, I love Protoss players and just Terran players, whoever goes for these kind of wall-ins, just to delay. As you were saying, it's such an aggressive map because the rush distance is so short. So doing any of these kind of delays to make sure that you can get away with a little bit of extra greed, I feel like it always tends to work out at least a little bit well. And this is going to just keep HyuN a little bit honest. There's only 2 Zerglings over here, so these pylons aren't doing a whole lot. But if there were more Zerglings, if there was some sort of crazy aggression coming out behind this would just be delaying that.
So, we got some people calling this the troll pylon in chat. I've actually been a huge advocate of Terran and Protoss doing this, whether you put the depot down or the pylon down. It seems silly, but as Fear Dragon again have alluded to before, map can be very aggressive, and even if it only buys you 10 or 13 seconds of time, that's time for a warp in. That's time for your mothership core to move to the correct base. I mean, obviously the mothership core was delayed on this build on purpose, but still, this is one of those things where that pylon has really bought MC a lot of time, who otherwise wouldn't have really had anything to defend against these lings with, like, at all.
Absolutely. And you can even see small things like, hey, if there was an attack, the pylon in the natural expansion's only now going up. So it's those small little corners that MC's cutting that it allows him to delay those for a little bit.
Yep.
But here come the Adepts, trying to put some counter pressure on the map, and right now there's only those 2 Zerglings out on the map, now down to 1, so he's gonna have to make a couple more units.
Of course, the signing transfer is very annoying to try and chase, but with lings and speed complete, this shouldn't be too problematic. At this point, MC might just be looking to trade out cost effectively. You know, kill a drone or 2 here, keep HyuN from going across the map, that sort of deal. But, oh, can probably cancel the transfer. Stay in his opponent's main? No, he's going to get caught by his lings instead.
Yeah, there weren't too many Zerglings over there, so you were saying, like, cost-effective trade. Normally, a lot of Adepts just want to go straight for the drones, but even trading out versus a couple of Zerglings does mean you have a slightly easier time taking a 3rd expansion, so I don't hate the decision too much.
Nice pick up on the Overlord of the main. That's actually going to supply block HyuN, albeit briefly. However, the lings run right through those 2 overcharges.
And
with sentries,
wolf sentries.
Yeah. Really hoping to catch MC off guard, but wall going down, and now he's kind of set.
Yep, Overlord gonna catch a glimpse of the gas geysers going down, and may even catch a glimpse of the 3rd expansion going down, as I think he might just barely be out of range of it. Yeah, just barely out of range, but if he decides to move back in and scout it out, he'll have good information about it.
Another Overlord pickoff. I mean, for MC, part of the direness that is killing these Overlords is making sure more Native Swarms don't happen again. Obviously, it doesn't go into him, but double Stargate's following this up. So the build he wanted to do in game number 1, he's going to be able to do here in game 2. It's worth noting the Stargates play a very different role than what they used to. Like, if you used to see 2 Stargate openers like this, you're like, oh my god, it's going to be Mass Phoenix or Mass Void Rays. Like, Nowadays, this really is more almost precautionary. We may not even see too much get made out of these. Like, I'm not saying MC won't still go for a Phoenix opener. He could still go 5-7 Phoenix easily. But this is more of a, okay, Mutalisk transitions aren't going to kill me anymore. Because with Blink Stalkers no longer being the priority of this particular matchup, we have just seen Protoss after Protoss struggle to, like, anywhere as low as 8 Mutalisks just transition into and have no answer for them.
Yeah, it's so frustrating for any Protoss player who just encounters the Mutalisk and is like, oh, well, my army is primarily Adepts. I guess I lose, question mark.
Yeah, Adepts
so
and Immortals and Sentries and Disruptors, all these things that don't really do well versus Mutants.
Exactly. And this is the other thing about it, is that you get to go for the Adept heavy army safely when you go for these Phoenix openings. And that is a really, really nice safety net. You don't have to worry about making a ton of the Stalkers or getting any sort of other form of anti-air. You can clean up Overlords and get a bit of that map control and try to make use of it. But I feel like these Phoenixes can go straight across the map. It's a small thing, but they can go straight across the map and just start picking all away at like queens and stuff, because the Overlords on the other side of the map have already been cleaned up. He doesn't have to stick around and wail away at Overlords for that free damage right now.
Oh, sorry, I hit my microphone. I hope that wasn't too loud.
You're fine.
Nice pickups with the
going down.
Phoenix. Yeah, usually we see those transfuses ready to go, but HyuN is just a little bit shy. Actually had energy to save that one. I don't know why he didn't. This is actually really terrible out of HyuN. I mean, being a little bit over the critical here with the criticism. Oh wow, look at that shadow. What the fuck? That's like some Kerrigan shit.
This is every single queen right now has gone down, and there's not even more queens on the way. We have Hyduls on the way, but that's a pretty big deal.
It's really frustrating to watch that happen though, because he really didn't have to let that get so out of hand. I mean, there was at least 2 transfuses between those 4 or 5 queens. The Hydras obviously will have the anti-air capability, so that's not too problematic anymore. But losing out on injects, losing out on energy banking for transfuses, ugh.
Definitely a little bit frustrating. I do like some of the small things that MC did. He's targeted picking up the higher energy queens in the midst of all of that, but Hydra's coming out. Finally, the queen's going to be coming back out, but HyuN misses out on a big round of larva injects, which is going to hurt his production quite a bit. And you can see his bank is starting to get a little bit crazy right now because of it.
Oh, dang. Shout out to Bobble, by the way. He did the math on our map questions earlier. Running the math, he says Overgrowth lived for about a year. Daybreak beats it by 2 months, but the longest lasting ladder map was Antigua Shipyard at almost 18 months. That's like the entirety of Wings of Liberty, man.
That map was a nightmare. That was like the worst map in the world for me because of
Well, it was funny too because right, it had like gold bases for a while, and then they took the gold bases out, and they're like, okay, now this is a good map. I'm like, no, it's not. Antigua though, that was like the original Blink map too, man. Like, Terran vs Protoss, that and Polar Night, those were probably the 2 worst maps to deal with Blink on.
That was the only way that I stayed alive on that map. But we got kind of interesting decision over here from MC. He's not only getting out those disruptors, but he's immediately transitioning out into the Templar archives, getting up charge. So he's really going quite tech heavy, and I kind of feel like he can get away with it.
I mean, the Archon potential, the Storms, these are all things that you're looking at, or sorry, not about the Archons, excuse me, the Charge Lots and the Storms combined can deal with Hydras pretty well. Once again, just bringing back the fact that Charge Lots becoming better and better with that actual charge damage, not to mention the kind of tanky units, all that good stuff. These will deal with Hydras when paired with Storms, but of course, if a Disruptor gets a shot off, that's going to be the best. But there is a PvZ dynamic that a lot of you have probably become more and more accustomed to with, as we've cast this hundreds of times on the channel at this point, where you start trading out weird Disruptor cooldowns for Lurker production. So it'll take 2 shots to kill a Lurker, Lurkers will keep an entire army back, blah, 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 blah. But these Disruptors have got to get some good hits. First one, not so hot. HyuN now aware this Disruptor's in play, going to be a little bit tentative with his push. MC's got to be careful leaving these so exposed, however. If you have those on the front lines and the Zerg army decides to kill them instead of run away from them, your damage will not be done. Time Warp goes down on the north side. Army is split. We got Phoenixes coming to pick up these Hydras. But it looks like the army on the north side is going to beat out the ground forces that MC had. One Archon going ham, but the Mothership Core goes down. No more overcharges. Those Corsair Battles going to land on some Zealots before they even get a chance to warp in. But that charge going to deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, Phoenixes come back and are going to be able to clean up the remainder of this army. We have the engagement happening on the bottom side. More disruptor shots, killing off a couple of zealots along with the army, but you have to remember that behind all of this, the Lurker Den is finished up now for HyuN. He's gonna have the capabilities to make those if he hits the time, but he might just be counterattacked.
Right, he might actually have to just use the Hydras to fight with. If he might not even have time to make any Lurkers is the big problem. He's gonna need some with the disruptors on the front line and no Mutalisks to snipe them. Vipers not even in play, or I don't think there's even Hive at this point. No, there's not. Oh, there's Hive. There's Hive. Vipers would actually be huge to have. Parasitic bombs on the Phoenix, abducts on the disruptors, but disruptors get a little bit close to the front line. However, drones getting pulled. You know it's desperate, and HyuN is not looking so hot here in game 2. I do believe MC's got the win with this push.
MC looking pretty damn strong
GG.
at this point. GG gets called.
Wow. Okay. HyuN. Like I said, we're gonna see him a lot.